So over the past few days, I've been getting a lot of questions from people as to how do you cope with inflation? What can you do? Especially if you have zero or very little money. Well, here's what I can tell you. Inflation is taking hold of our economy, taking hold of the United States and pretty much every other country out there. We are going to struggle in times of high inflation. But at the same time, and this is the big question that I'm getting all the time is, when will the United States government come in and help us that are currently struggling? Here's the answer. They will not. The United States does not have the ability to go and send out a stimulus check. And by sending out a stimulus check, that would actually create additional inflation. So just to set the record straight, there is no additional stimulus check coming from the United States government. Now, if you live in California, you may get up to $1,050 for their gas rebate check. So just keep that in mind. And in places like Colorado, they're sending out a kind of stimulus check as well, but that's because of their state had excess money from their budget. So they have to send it back. That's their state law. So for those people that are asking, hey, certain states are getting money, why aren't we? Well, it's because they live in a specific state. That's the reason why. Now, Americans are going to continue to struggle with inflation. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And when countries outside of the United States are doing certain things to try and prop up their economy, I get more and more questions wondering, when is the US going to do the same thing? So just wanted to clarify that not all states are doing it, and it is the states themselves that are sending additional money. Now, got a question today. Is the US going to do something like Liz Truss did over in the United Kingdom, where she cut taxes? Well, no. The United States is not going to do that. The United States is actually looking at doing the complete opposite, where they tax the rich, because over in the UK, what Liz Truss did is she's giving those tax cuts to the rich, the wealthier people. Well, in the US, they're considering doing the complete opposite, where they charge a little bit more in taxes for the wealthy and give maybe a little bit less for the people that are less off, right? But we'll see what happens going forward. Here's what I can tell you. The one thing the US is considering at this time is a ban on oil exports. That's what they're considering. And you're probably thinking, well, how would a ban on oil exports help me? Well, it brings down the cost of gasoline. That could happen. That's the one piece of, the one little relief that could be coming very soon. But here's what's going on at this time. We have record high inflation. And I don't care what people say. It's, oh, we got inflation at 8.3%. That's what they say. That's what the CPI report says. Okay? But true inflation is most likely over 20% and has been for a long time. When I say long time, I'm talking about almost a year. 20%. We were talking about true inflation being over 20% back in the I think like September, October of 2021. That was over a year ago. I remember we brought it up in the summer of 2021. And a lot of people are like, I can see that. There was a lot of reports out there that true inflation was up over 20% or like a year and a half ago. Yeah, it's only getting worse. However, on October 13th, so in 2 days from me shooting this video, we will get an update as to what our inflation rate is here in the United States. That's the good news. And it doesn't matter what it is, the good news is we will have an update. But because of this record high inflation, we are seeing Americans save less money because they're spending it all. They have nothing left over. And I remember when I took a financial course many years ago, the first thing they tell you to do is to pay yourself. You listen to, I think Dave Ramsey does the same thing. Warren Buffett does the same thing as well. Pay yourself first. And by paying yourself first, you take money out and you put it into savings and into retirement. That's how you pay yourself first. And then you take the rest of the money and you pay off all your necessities. Then you take what's left over, and that is your wants. Okay, those are your extra expenses. And whether you have $5 or $2 million doesn't matter at the end of the month. That's what you can use on those extras. But here's the thing. Americans just don't have as much money because they keep spending it on things like medication and rent and gasoline and utilities and food, things like that, the necessities. But in a recent survey, it says roughly 30% of Americans say they're paying off less of their debts each and every month, meaning they're actually accruing slowly but steadily, they're accruing more debt. And in another recent survey, it says 32% of Americans are just struggling to pay their bills entirely. Doesn't matter if it's a utility bill, it's a cell phone bill, it's a Netflix account. Any bill, 32% of Americans say they are struggling to pay their bills. Let me know, I'm just curious. How many of you are struggling just to keep up with your everyday expenses? I'm curious because I know it is a tough time right now. Now, I bring all this stuff up because we heard from the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen today, and she said the U.S. economy is doing quite well amid the global economic uncertainties. And these are things like the war between Russia and Ukraine. And I guess we can throw in Belarus there now. There's also the oil output cut by OPEC Plus, right? That's a new uncertainty. We still have tensions between the U.S. and China, Taiwan, other countries as well. Saudi Arabia's, well, we got to throw them in there as well because obviously they were part of the cuts that we're seeing. So there's a lot of tensions. There's a lot of uncertainties here. But according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she says that the U.S. economy is doing quite well. Quite well. But she also went on to say this. From the perspective of the United States, I think the United States is doing very well. Now, why would she say the perspective of the United States? It's actually pretty simple. If you look at what the U.S. is doing, okay, from the United States standpoint, well, we're doing okay. You look at what the U.S. is doing from a European standpoint, the U.S. is doing phenomenal, right? Energy bills are not going sky high. They haven't increased 600 to 700%, so we're doing good there. Gasoline is not that expensive, here in the U.S., right? We have some control. We're not being pretty much taken or sabotaged by another country. I don't want to go into all details there, but you get the idea. So from the perspective of people in other countries, we're doing really well. But from the perspective of the United States, Janet Yellen says the United States is doing very well. She also said this, and I want to just give you this little warning, okay? She said this statement. She said, and I quote, "The dollar is a safe haven. So when times are uncertain, we experience capital inflows into our safe markets, and all those things are pushing up the dollar vis-a-vis a broad range of countries." Now, is the dollar getting stronger? Yes. I think we can agree on that. The dollar's getting stronger. But at the same time, is the dollar a safe haven? No. The dollar is not a safe haven. Is the dollar a wise investment? Again, I'm not trying to give you any financial advice here, but is the dollar a wise investment? And the answer is, well, probably not. When we are in times of uncertainty, in the U.S., I can tell you right now, $31 trillion in debt is not, this isn't safe, right? But again, as rates are going up, it's getting a little bit stronger. But while rates are going up, what happens once they reach that peak? And it's like, okay, we're bringing down inflation. We're going to wait. We're just going to ride things out for a few months. And then guess what? Rates are most likely going to go back down. And as rates go back down, guess what? Is the dollar a safe haven again? Probably not. So again, I don't know exactly what the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was going for with this interview that she conducted, or she was part of. But what I can tell you is there's a lot of things she said that I just don't agree with. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.